fourth class with Celina. Welcome back, Celina, and thank you for joining us. And you can share your screen if you want. I made you co-host already. Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you guys again. I'm having a good time with this series because it helps me to focus also in my own practice, because we all need to think about the things that bring us good health and improves our immune system, and understanding how emotions and impact our human system is really important for us to keep discovering things and thinking about things that can help us. So today I'm bringing a study about the impact of emotions on our organs. So I originally thought of it as liver and emotions, and it's one area that I focus quite a bit. And it's the whole body. You know, the more we research, the more we discover. So I'm going to share the screen here. And we are going to talk about, you guys seen it?
Yeah.
The mind-body connection. And, you know, we have to understand this because it's very important for us to maintain a whole health approach to the way we take care of ourselves. The mind and the body are inseparable. And of course, we see it, the way that we are so well wired and to function. So Western medicine started putting this together most recently, and now there's a lot of research, which is marvelous. But the emotional impact on the organs have been studied by the Chinese and the Indians in the Ayurvedic medicine systems for, you know, thousands of years. And when we are thinking about the body, we see that this system's millenary system of medicine, they think that most of our ailments are from emotions. So one of the things that circulate prominently in the systems are the idea of stress, and how stress is, you know, a huge problem in the way illnesses are developed. So it starts with, you know, the signs. You know, nowadays it's so easy to see this in so many people because of our circumstance, but this can escalate, and we need to be attentive to that. That depression is a sign of stress, and anxiety and agitation. And how we tell anxiety and agitation is, you know, we don't settle down to sleep very easily, and, you know, we can't focus on our activities, and we should be able to notice that. Moodiness, irritability, anger, feeling overwhelmed. Of course, it's easy sometimes in our roles to feel overwhelmed, but when that feeling of overwhelmed takes away our capacity to function comfortably, that's something to pay attention to and start doing things to attenuate those symptoms. And, you know, the idea that we are lonely and isolated sometimes is a symptom of that we are a little bit depressed. Like I said, these days it's very easy to encounter that. So to understand how these things happen, we need to understand the neurochemistry of emotions. And as I spoke about it in our other class about the liver and the immune system, the liver is responsible for everything. And the neurochemistry that happens within the body all goes through the liver. So everything is directly impacting the liver and other organs. So an emotional response, it's composed of three components. There's the behavioral, which is what happens in the body, and the autonomic, which is responses in behavior. So the heart rate increases, there's a change in blood vessels, the size of blood vessels, and the circulation of the blood to the muscles increase. So this all works together. And then the hormones are secreted by the adrenal medulla and increases the blood flow. So all of this works together. And as the body is flooded with these hormones, it goes right into the liver. And so we have a direct impact of how emotions impact, especially the liver and other organs. So yeah, emotions are natural. They are also inevitable. They are a natural physiological reaction to the things that happen to us. And they do not cause disease. But the Chinese say that when disease becomes, emotions become pathological is when they are repressed. So psychology today also addresses that when we cannot release after emotional events, then it could get stuck in the body. I see in many bodies of knowledge that I study and practices that I engage in. So it's important for us to understand that we need to process the emotions. We need to be in touch with them in a way that that they are natural and they don't get stuck in ourselves. So there is approaches that we can use so that it doesn't become a vicious cycle of how emotions impair our body, or our body impairs our emotions. So there's some specific herbs and foods that can be researched. And in this little manual I give you here is encouraging you to participate in your emotional life and understand and sense yourself and notice when things are happening. When an emotion is impairing you, it's recurring, a thought of negativity or maybe feeling upset with someone kind of recurs, keeps on coming back, you are ruminating it. That's when you need to pay attention, do something about it. The Chinese, they connect let's say, a Chinese medicine connects emotions with different organs. And grief and depression are connected to the lungs. And here I gave you some ideas of some of the foods that can be consumed to assist and make sure our lungs are healthy. Because nowadays we are really concerned with lung function and oxygen circulation. So to protect ourselves, to develop our strength in our lungs, pay attention to the consumption of these foods. And the consumption of these foods is good in general, all the time, for all the other organs as well. Fear is related to the kidneys and the bladder. And again, it's important to maintain hydration, like I have discussed with you guys before, because all of these organs need water and hydration to function well. So I make suggestions of the foods and the ideas of colors in the foods, which is very much part of the Ayurvedic system, that we should eat foods that are colorful, or we are minding the color of foods. So worry and nervousness impacts the spleen and the stomach. And of course, it's digestion, is breaking down of nutrients, and the spleen has a lot to do with the immune system. It's a site where different processes in the white blood cells take place. And so we need to pay attention that, if we're getting worried excessively or nervous excessively, that we should do something to attenuate that, to diminish that. Some activities at the end of this manual, there's an activity that I'm suggesting, and of course, meditation, light exercise, taking a bath, even using some Epsom salt, and all of these good things to calm our nervous system. Anger and frustration, of course, is directly related to the liver. There's a lot of science in that. I see a little mistake here. So the idea of creating practices in our life to maintain our cool, to maintain our emotional health is super important. All the time, we age better, we function better, we absorb nutrients better. So it's a whole system that we need to be always mindful of, right? Mind body is inseparable, and we need to understand that to balance the liver and the gallbladder. There are some wonderful things that I have practiced in my life. I love green, really dark green vegetables, and dandelion greens. They are a little bitter, and they are really wonderful for the liver. The liver loves it because it tonifies the liver. Anything that's bitter tonifies the liver. So these are just some suggestions. You can do some more. There's a ton of stuff in the internet, and that shows up, and read through it and learn about how to maintain your liver healthy and flushed, and to remove any blocks and make sure that the liver is not clogged. Happiness and joy is related to the heart and the small intestine. Of course, happiness and joy impacts our entire being, but particularly the function of the heart. All of this stuff that I'm mentioning here is based on research that I've seen in the Western literature. So these are particularly backed up by scientific work. And so when we experience true joy and happiness, when we are feeling, a degree of even gratitude for the things that we have, we are creating chemicals that are bringing all kinds of positive hormones to our system, and that also goes through the liver. And when it's good, it's easy and natural. But when we are lacking joy in our lives, the heart suffers, and so does the digestive system suffers as well. Sometimes people have an upset, and they will develop a digestive problem, that evening. I see in me, it's not often, but I feel physically impacted when something happens, especially these days when I've heard that a loved one has passed, somebody that we know has passed. We can feel it in our systems, and it's good to address and feel the pain, feel the sadness, but let it pass and find a sense of gratitude as well, and things that we have in our life and that we have our life. And These are all important thoughts. Positive thinking is very important in the way that we keep our life in a good flow and in a healthy way. So, anxiety is something that the Chinese are very concerned with, the traditional Chinese medicine, because it has different sources and it impacts in a different way. So, if it's related to the lungs and the large intestines, um, it causes problems in the breath. So anxiety can have an impact on the lungs, and if it impacts the liver, if it's due to these are very complex systems. I just made a summary just to make relationships for you guys. So if you don't understand how it all relates, there's a lot of material in the internet, as I said, but these are the relationships that are made between the organs and anxiety, which is very common in our lives. So the kidney and the bladder, it impacts our adrenals, and anxiety can also be caused by a disharmony between the kidneys and um, the different functions of organs, um, and the heart especially. So with some of these foods and just the consciousness of, you know, how it how something's impacting us and then impacting an organ and then impacting anxiety. So it becomes a vicious cycle that by becoming aware of these things, of how we process emotion, it helps us to be more agents of our well-being. So sometimes when anxiety stems from the liver, when we have upset, anger, irritation, right? It kind of, if it goes unresolved, if you don't come to an equilibrium and you ruminate in that anger for the rest of the day, or continuing on, every time you remember the situation, it could cause problems in our health. We need to be aware of that. And sometimes insomnia or irritability or nervous tension can arise and can lead on to other things. So the relationship of the spleen and the stomach with anxiety, which comes from excessive worry and pensiveness. So these are things that we need to learn to alter in our lives. And general anxiety aids, I've always loved alkaline foods. I practice this. I try to remove foods that are acid producing, and that's also easily researched. So some of the alkaline foods that I use is celery and tofu and valerian. These are teas, valerian and chamomile and plums. And the Japanese even have these little pickled plums that are wonderful to alkaline the body. Every once in a while, I like having them. They're called umebushi plums. Tangerines and licorice and ginseng, and important if you feeling anxiety, to reduce caffeine and stimulants and alcohol, and cinnamon. I love cinnamon, and I try not to consume it all the time, but every once in a while I find it to be a great treat.
Yeah, sometimes I use coffee and cinnamon, so I can't do that anymore.
You get a double hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. So coffee is removed from my diet because I can't sleep at night. So if I drink coffee, and then I get anxious. One thing leads to the other. So I pay attention to stimulants, right? Becoming more sensitive as I age. So I didn't used to be this way, but now I'm aging and I'm more careful. And so I'm becoming more sensitive, which is good because I notice myself, but believe me, if I go to Italy and I find a cappuccino bistro and there's a salami sandwich with cheese, I'm gonna have it because I love that kind of food. Well, most of the time, I don't go there, but every once in a while, and I like to practice that. It's a way for us to keep um, positive about, oh, I can't eat that, but every once in a while, I'll treat myself to that. And I take joy in those treats. So that's important too. Um, I love this exercise by Deepak Chopra. And oh my God, this man has got so much to offer. I recommend you getting to know him. He has a beautiful 21-day meditation for abundance. Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
I
It's in
did
video
that.
and
Yeah.
it's in YouTube. You've done that,
Yep.
Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
It is so
Great.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh,
Very much.
I have some of those recordings, Nicole. So if anybody shows an interest, let me know and I can send those
Okay.
little videos to you
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
But this release of emotional turbulence is extremely effective, and you can actually learn to metabolize certain discomforts, pain especially, with this 7-step exercise, where you find in your body where the emotion is acting up. So what you do is you remember um, something that's bugging you. You find a few minutes to sit undisturbed and sit upright, and then you're gonna think about an incident, something that about an incident that disturbed you, that caused upset. That's better. And here you are the observer. You are watching this event. This is really important. You're not in the event. You're merely witnessing the event as an outsider. And you just check into it. And you start, of course, feeling the feeling, because even when we watch a movie, right, we feel whatever we see in the movie. It's the same thing when we are imagining the incident, we are feeling it too. So we are identifying it in ourselves. And we give it one word, you know, bummer. Um, oh, how sad, sad, or something else. It can be any of the many words we know about our feelings. So once you give that word, you kind of label that feeling, so you've identified the feeling, and that's so important. And knowing ourselves is part of this exercise. As we identify things, we are knowing ourselves a little more because we are paying attention to ourselves, which is so important. So sometimes we are feeling unappreciated or insulted or angry, and we don't pay attention. We just keep on going, and we don't give ourselves the attention we need. Sometimes a child, or those of us who have had children or friends who come to share something with us about how they feel, and we give them that attention. We go, we say, oh wow, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way, or oh honey, how can mom help? Or we extend ourselves to assist the friend or the child. Why wouldn't we do it to ourselves? Why wouldn't we give ourselves a moment of attention to soothe that which we are feeling that's causing an upset? So it's important for us to practice love towards ourselves, to care for ourselves, and to have that actual thought. How can I get better? How can I feel better? What can I do to feel better? It's like putting the little band-aid or kissing the wound. All of these things are lovely and important in our good health. So once you identify that feeling, you witness the experience and you let your attention wander into your body, because we somatize things all the time. We may not be aware because we don't know ourselves very well. In my Feldenkrais practice, I know this. People don't connect to their bodies very often. That's why my practice is so successful, because once we start connecting to our body, things shift and people feel better. And it's just things that we don't know how to explain scientifically yet, but we see it clinically. We see it in the application. And so becoming aware of where in the body, sometimes it's in the stomach. I feel a lot of things in my upper stomach below the breastbone. So I know that about myself. If I get anxious about anything, boom, I can identify. And I have different techniques I use. And I dare say, techniques I spent a lot of money to learn how to practice them. So I have studied a lot of things to help, because my clients need assistance sometimes. And I like to have many tools to assist because people are different. This is a practice that I find extremely kind and generous, that helps a lot. And so once we find it in our body, touching it, feeling that sensation in the body, identifying that can be extremely soothing just by knowing it. And it is a beautiful moment when you're connecting with yourself and knowing more about yourself. That's self-love as well. So expressing the emotion, and saying out loud, it hurts here, and tapping the different parts of the body where you feel something, even physical pain, shoulder that's hurting. It doesn't matter if it's from an emotion. Just put your hand there and say, it hurts here. Doesn't that remit us to the past when we were children and we would tell our mothers or daddies, oh, it hurts here. So it's a way to call a certain loving attention to us, and our own self-love. So express the emotion and then write it. Sometimes writing can be extremely helpful. Writing your feelings in a journal, I highly recommend. I do it in form of poetry, so I enjoy that very much. And take responsibility for your feelings. The feelings are happening inside of us. People can do things we don't have to engage. What happens inside us is our responsibility. Of course, when we are children, it's different. Children are vulnerable. They don't know how to have an approach that more self-management, but we do, and it's our choice. How we let things affect us as adults is our choice. So we can learn how to take responsibility. And we can say, I take responsibility for my own feelings, and let others out of the equation. And then you can release the emotion by just allowing breathing to come in and letting it go. Place your attention in that part of your body and breathe through that, and have an intention to release the tension and the pain consciously. That is so powerful. There is so much in that moment of having an intention. Intention is everything. That's how this whole world is created, through our intentions. So have the intention to release anything that's negative within you. And then share the outcome by simply bearing in mind that nothing that happens to us is set in stone, that we can let go so that we can have a different pattern of release when we have things happening to us. Imagine in your mind that you could speak that. And even that person that created a situation that upset you, imagine that person and you talk to them with your grown-up words and with articulation and say, and take responsibility for your feelings. I often imagine this like, I take responsibility for my feelings. I just noticed that you spoke like this to me. And that is something I don't want to do to others. So I have kind of a dialogue sometimes, because sometimes it's not easy to go to the person and say that, but sometimes we can, and that's extremely healing too. So you share that without blame, without manipulation, without seeking approval. And it's important for us to not fall into these traps. And maybe you would like to say that you will no longer fall into such traps of letting that emotion faster and hurt you. So we can figure out a different way. And then we celebrate that we have more awareness, and that we can find more inner peace through these practices. And this is definitely something to celebrate. And in our daily lives, remember to practice positive thinking. Say to yourself, I do it all the time. I am positively expecting great results, no matter what I see in front of me. The universe is rearranging itself for my best interest right now. That brings so much peace to my heart. And I wish for all of you peace in your heart and trust that the future brings great things for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow, it's very good.
Get a copy of that? I'm trying to take notes, but I couldn't.
I thank you. Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome. I really like that.
I'm so relaxed.
Your voice is very relaxing, Celina. It's just like listening to you. I'm like, oh, this is very comfortable and nice.
So happy to hear that.
Thank you so much.
I practice these things, and I am a highly excitable person. I've had to learn these things. And so I can be more peaceful and more productive. You know, now I am stepping into the position as an executive director of an organization, and I need this. I need this practice to remain calm, to do my work. My role is very creative nowadays. That my practice is fizzled out with the pandemic. I'm having to reinvent myself, and so I've stepped into the world of leadership again, which I've enjoyed for many years, and it's an educational organization, and I love education, so it's a good fit. And I still attend to my clients, and creating different ways to attend to my clients. And but I find that attending to myself comes first. I need to attend to myself, care for myself. And because I want to live to a long age with good health, old age with good health. And so I can continue doing this wonderful work I do, because I enjoy it so much. And I'm having fun now in my life. as I figured out how to be more peaceful, more self-loving, and more attentive to myself, self-knowledge, which is something that I teach quite a bit, self-awareness. Fellow in Christ method is wonderful for that. And these things are all related, mind, body. So I'm now studying a level of understanding that, we have our body, our emotions, and our spirit. So we have a body intelligence, we have emotional intelligence, and we have spiritual intelligence. And all of that creates good health and long life. So I'm in.
Yeah, thank you. You guys have any questions?
I've been sending the thing so I can review and look it over and check out that other link and stuff.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because I had to turn my phone sideways and I was taking screenshots of all of it. But yeah, that would be good to have.
Yeah, I share it with you.
And tell me the method again. You said it sounded like it was a method you said. It was like Christ method. Or
Christ method. I'll put it in this page. I'm a Christ practitioner. And Feldenkrais, he was a Russian scientist, a physicist. And he was a very physical man. He taught self-defense. He lived through Second World War. So he worked in laboratories and in France, and he was extremely a Renaissance man. He was interested in movement, auto-suggestion, hypnotism. I mean, he was very interested in how the brain worked through the word, through the linguistic context of positive messages. And he's my model in this. And he was a physicist, a mathematician, an engineer. And so he put together mind-body. He created the Feldenkrais method. Feldenkrais is his name, Moshe Feldenkrais. And what the method is based on is paying attention to ourselves, because in movement. So his lessons is like moving the arm with awareness, rotating it in the shoulder socket, or, moving the ribs, contracting ribs on one side, contracting on the other side, bringing the hip closer to the shoulder, but doing it with awareness so that you can shift the way we are organized, because sometimes we don't pay attention to how we sit, how we walk, how we lay down. And so he does all of these contortions, if you will, simple, and that moves things out of the patterned ways of behavior. So we make movement conscious, but movement generally is unconscious, right? We just get up and do things. But in this method, you make the movement part of your awareness. You're conscious of what you're doing. That creates a magic in the brain that creates more function, decreases pain sometimes by creating mobility in areas that are nearby where the pain is. There's so many reasons why pain comes. There's the symptoms, the systems that we have, the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system, and they function differently. And they are always active. And we don't know this. Some of us do, but we can't feel it. And they do different things. So there are reasons in this relationship between these two systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems, how they coordinate everything that we are. And so when we are moving with intention, we are altering the automatic patterns that we have. And when we do that, we do something with our brain. We become more aware of ourselves and
That's nice.
become more flexible, more in charge of ourselves, more comfortable, calmer. We calm our nervous system becomes calmer. So this method is, delicious to practice, and I'm very fortunate that I learned it when I was young, and so I'm not like the best student of the Feldenkrais method in the sense of my practice. I'll go a while without it, but then I'll go like a whole month every day doing it because I'm developing lessons, and to develop a lesson, I need to do it. I record lessons, but most of my work is done in Brazil, in Portuguese. So my method, Mind Access, is a Brazilian product, and but I taught it in the U.S. for many years, and I attend to my clients here, and there are a lot of resources. The reason why I do it in Brazil, because the Brazilians don't have a lot of resources. And here in the United States, there's a lot of resources. Anybody interested, I'll send you free lessons in the different websites that my partner in professional trainings, Alan Questel, who's a world master practitioner of the Feldenkrais method, and he does professional method trainings in this country. And we've worked in many professional trainings together. And he gives a free lesson every month in his site. And he has hundreds of lessons. The guy is a machine for creating lessons. He's a marvelous teacher. And of course, I'm one of his students because he's quite outstanding. And we trained together in the Feldenkrais method when I was 23, he was 26. So we've been good friends. And so it's a marvelous thing to study. It's a very supportive of self-knowledge, and supportive of comfort and remaining calm. So I have a ton of those lessons. Anybody interested, I have CDs of it. So just let Nicole know, and I'll make these resources available to you all.
Thank you. That would be good.
Okay, thank you so much, Celina.
All the best to all of you. It's been a pleasure delivering this series.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
you all have a great day.